What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. Okay, guys, so we are going to continue our coverage over the Dawn of X era of X-Men comics, and we actually pick up with Excalibur number 11 and number 12. Now, these two books are very important because they do get us ready for the X of Swords event. Now, with that being said, though, X of Swords is a huge crossover, but with that crossover, a lot of it comes out of Excalibur number 11 and number 12. Because remember, the Excalibur team is right now in Otherworld and trying to make a deal with Saturnine. On top of that, Apocalypse is planning something. And with Apocalypse out there plotting left and right, in this video, his plans are finally going to come together, but his plans are going to be the reason why X of Swords is a very crucial moment for the mutant race. And with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into this storyline. Now, getting into today's video with Excalibur number 11, we actually pick up with Jubilee being locked up. Now, the reason why Jubilee is locked up is because what happened at the end of Excalibur number 9. Now, at the end of that video right there, we saw Excalibur riding on the back of Shogo. Remember, Shogo is the baby of Jubilee, but when they brought that baby over into Otherworld, he was turned into a dragon because his imagination is so wild. But they were riding his back over to the citadel that belongs to Saturnine. But on the way there, they were shot out of the sky by some priestess. And of course, Shogo landed in a forest. Now, Jubilee got very angry because that was her son. And so she began to attack the forest because she believed the attack came from the forest, but actually the attack came over from the citadel. Now, the reason why Jubilee is locked up because in the forest, there is a different group of priestess. What I mean is that there are two groups of priestess that follow Saturnine. The white priestess and the green priestess. The white priestess are the ones we saw at the end of Excalibur number 9 that shot down Shogo, but Jubilee did not see them. And so, of course, she began the process of just attacking the area around the citadel. But in the areas around the citadel, there are another group of priestess known as the Green Priestess, and they protect the forest. And so with Jubilee going crazy and just blowing up places left and right, they locked her up, saying, hey, listen, we were actually trying to help your dragon out, trying to protect our forest, and you were going crazy and attacking our forest. We're trying to tell you, we're not the ones who attack your son or your dragon. Matter of fact, we are a different group. And so, of course, they locked her up in a tree-like prison until she calms down. Now, you do have Excalibur appear as a way to fight the Green Priestess because they believe that they have captured Jubilee for no good reason. But of course, they're going to work it out because it's all one huge misunderstanding. Now, some time does pass by, and we actually do see that Bessie Braddock was able to get the full story and actually talk to Jubilee and tell Jubilee, hey, listen, you got it all wrong. The Green Priestess were not the ones who had injured Shogo. Instead, it was somebody else. But the Green Priestess, they saw the dragon and they were trying to heal the dragon up. Now, of course, when you came around the corner, you started attacking the place, and this is their area they have to protect. And so that's why you got locked up, because you rushed in, you freaked out, you started attacking the forest and them. They had no choice but to lock you up. And so you have Bessie Braddock being able to kind of calm Jubilee down good enough so that the Green Priestess could actually let her out of her prison so that she can go see Shogo to see how he is doing because he was badly injured. But later on that day, we actually do see Bessie Braddock and the Excalibur team right now talking to one another, trying to figure out what their next move is. Because right now, Bessie Braddock and her team, Excalibur, they came to Otherworld to talk to Saturnine. But the problem is, though, Saturnine does not want to talk to Bessie Braddock, even though Bessie Braddock is the current Captain Britain. But of course, you have Bessie Braddock not giving up, but she wants to know why, when it comes to Saturnine, why doesn't she want to talk to me? Because I am the Captain Britain of the main Marvel universe. She is technically my boss. I answer to her, but she will not answer my call. Why? And of course, it could be the reason why she is a mutant. But again, we don't know the full story just yet. But either way, you do have Excalibur kind of wondering what should they do. One, Shogo is still a dragon, but he's badly injured. And they know if they leave Otherworld, he'll turn back into a baby and he could possibly die. Also, they're kind of tired and exhausted. They need to figure out what is their next move before they go do anything else. But later on that night, we do see that Richter is walking around the area because he couldn't sleep. Now, he does walk over to some of the priestess who are kind of worshiping or examining a random rock that is shining. And that is the moment you do have the two priestess tell Richter that when it comes to this earth, they believe that the earth's energy comes from the blood of the people's heart. Because when you die, you are buried in the ground. And the blood from your heart is what powers the earth, our other world. Now, with that being said, you do have Richter begin the process of actually touching this rock that the priestess were examining. And when he does touch the rock, he does realize that somebody has been listening in to his thoughts. And he's wondering who in the world could have been possibly listening to his thoughts. Is it Saturnine? No, it's not Saturnine. Of course, it is Apocalypse. And this is Marvel trying to continue the idea of making Richter a character that fans should care more of. I'm not saying like he's a bad character or anything at all. I'm just saying that when he first appeared, he was very interesting, and then Marvel barely used him up to this point right here in the Dawn of X universe or era. But either way though, when it comes to Richter, you do have Apocalypse tell Richter a story. Now this story is kind of hinting at what could possibly be seen in the X of Swords event, because you do have Apocalypse tell Richter that when it came to Apocalypse, him and the rest of the Externals, they first came together in the 12th century. Now, the Externals are just a group of mutants who can basically live forever. They're immortal. But with that being said, though, he does say there's something special about them and their bones and their blood and all of that stuff right there. But Apocalypse is telling us that when it came to him and the rest of the Externals, they all came together in a way to do some kind of ritual. And this was the first ritual Apocalypse ever did. And of course, his goal or his idea was to practice the idea of rebirth, because that right there has been very important in the Dawn of X era of X-Men comics. Because remember, at the very beginning of House of X and Power of X, Jonathan Hickman gave the X-Men a new concept of bringing someone back to life. And that right there seems like Apocalypse is hinting on that when it comes to the mutant race, the idea of rebirth is our main goal, our main gift from the universe. And so with that, he does tell us he was doing a ritual on another external named Kendra. And I really hope I pronounced her name correctly. But Kendra's soul was actually placed into a gem. Now, he does tell us that originally Kendra did try to back out of the ritual, but of course it still went through, and he put her soul in a gem. And of course, that gem is very important, because for some strange reason, that gem could possibly help Apocalypse make a new kind of gate. But after that moment right there, we actually skip over to Excalibur right now, regrouping and getting ready to attack the citadel that belongs to Saturnine. Now, with that being said, though, they're kind of wondering how can they actually get close to the citadel, because their first attempt got them blown right out of the sky. And that is the moment you have Richter say, I have an idea. Because remember, when it comes to Richter, he does control seismic waves. he can control the Earth or a planet that he's on. And so with that being said, they're going to go underground as a way to get close to the Citadel, to get inside of it, to finally talk to Saturnine, because that is their main goal right now. Now, you do have the Excalibur team remind us that one of their goals is to actually plant a Krakoan gate on the actual grounds of the Citadel. And so that means they actually have to be on the Citadel to plant a flower that can open a Krakoan gate. And so you do have Richter begin the process of growing that gate. And so then when they actually get onto the Citadel, that Krakoan gate will actually be ready to open and be used. And so, of course, we actually do see them do that. But when the gate is finally open, you then have Richter remember that somebody has to go back through the gate to get Apocalypse and bring him here. But here comes the big problem, though. As soon as Richter does use that gate and he goes through it, well, he remembers when it comes to otherworld Krakoan gates, they need a crystal, a Pacific kind of crystal. And of course, with this gate not having that crystal, Richter begins the process of just falling into some unknown world or some unknown area. And he's talking to Apocalypse because Apocalypse knows how to help Richter out to get out of this situation. But while Richter is going through that process right there, that is the moment you have Gambit, Rogue, and Bessie Braddock be confronted by Saturnine. And this is actually very important because this is Bessie Braddock finally saying, listen, I want to talk to you. I am a Captain Britain. I answer to you. Why are you turning your back on me? And so they're finally going to have that conversation to figure out what in the world Saturnine is actually doing. Now, while Saturnine and Bessie Braddock are having that meeting, you have Rogue and Gambit kind of walk around the Citadel to kind of just walk around. But while they're walking around, remember, Rogue and Gambit, they're married at this point in Marvel Comics. And Rogue knows almost every single detail about her husband, especially the idea that he is a thief. And sometimes he loves to take things from other people. And so you do have Rogue kind of show Gambit this certain kind of cabinet or whatever that was locked but then unlocked by unknown people. Who knows? But of course, you do have Gambit begin the process of looking through this cabinet. And when he does, he actually finds the same gem that is holding the life force of Kandra. And that right there is very important because remember, Apocalypse's first ritual with the externals was putting her soul into that crystal. And Gambit just found it. Now we get into Excalibur number 12. And with this book, we actually pick up with Apocalypse right now, meeting up with the rest of the externals. Now, of course, the last time Apocalypse had talked about the externals was the first time he was trying to do a ritual as a way to figure out the way of rebirth. But here he comes now to tell the externals, listen, the mutant race has evolved finally. They have built a nation for their own. On top of that, they have found a way to do rebirth. And he is talking about the Five, because remember, the Five is a group of mutants that can come together to bring someone back to life. Now, when I say bring someone back to life, I really mean that they make a clone body of you and then download your memories into this new clone body of you. But of course, it's still a rebirth. And so right now, it's Apocalypse saying that now the mutant race really doesn't need us as much as we thought they did, because they were able to find a way to do a rebirth process. Now, of course, you do have some externals feel like Apocalypse is saying that they're now obsolete, but you have Apocalypse say, no, I'm not saying we're obsolete. I'm saying that the rest of the mutants are finally catching up to us, but they still have so much to learn. And because we have been around for so long, we can still teach them those things. But there is another reason why I called everyone here for. And that is the moment you have Richter appear. Because remember, Richter did use a gate as a way to teleport over to Apocalypse. But after using that gate, he continued to fall through some unknown area. Well, come to find out, the gate had actually teleported him right underneath where Apocalypse and the rest of the externals are at. And when he appears, he begins the process of actually killing off some of the externals except Apocalypse, Selene, and Gideon. And the reason why, because Apocalypse needs the bones of the externals to finally finish what he has been trying to finish this whole time in the Excalibur series. But he knew that if he had asked the externals to kill themselves to give over their bones, of course, they would say no. And so instead, what he did was he made Richter teleport underneath them as a way for Richter to pop out, but to bring a lot of magma with him so that he could just kill off the few externals that he needed to be killed off so that he could finally finish the gate or finish the project that he was working on, because he needs the bones of the externals. Now, of course, he kept Selene and Gideon alive, and I really feel like because those two characters plus Apocalypse are the more popular external characters, we can't kill them off for right now. But the rest of them, who we have seen, and they did have some storylines, they weren't that popular still. Let's go ahead and kill them off and help Apocalypse finally finish his crazy project of his. But that is the moment you have Apocalypse realize that something is wrong, because we do see that the externals that were killed, their bones, they do change colors, like crystal-like colors. And of course, Apocalypse plans to use their bones for some unknown project. But here comes the big problem though. His project is still incomplete because of Kendra. Because remember, her soul was taken out of her body and put into a gem. And so with her soul actually not being in her dead body right now, Apocalypse cannot do his plan. And so now it's kind of like, where is her soul? Well, we know where her soul is at. It's with Gambit in that jewel that he found over in the Citadel that belongs to Saturnine. And so when we actually jump over to Gambit and Rogue, we see the spirit of Kendra actually talking to Gambit. Now, there is a little bit of history between these two characters. And honestly, I'm not going to dive into that history, because if I do, it could add another 5-6 minutes to this video. I don't want to do that right now. But the only thing you need to know is that they do have a good amount of history between the two characters. Now, with that being said, you do have Kendra tell Gambit that he cannot give that gem over to Apocalypse, because she knew that Apocalypse was possibly plotting something with her bones, because she knew that when it comes to the externals and their bones, something special is about them. And she knew that Apocalypse was going to try to use her bones down the road. She knew her days were numbered. And so she's kind of begging Gambit to not give the gem over to Apocalypse. Now, even though Gambit does hate Kendra, he also hates Apocalypse. But he hates Apocalypse even more. So it's kind of like, will Apocalypse plans fail again because of Gambit? Because that happened earlier when it came to Rogue. Apocalypse's first plan, Gambit stopped that plan just like that. And so Gambit could possibly do that all over again to just mess with Apocalypse. But getting back over to that meeting between Bessie Braddock and also Saturnine, you have Bessie Braddock tell Saturnine, listen, I am your Captain Britain. I am Captain Britain of the main Marvel universe. Why have you turned your back on me? And that is the moment you actually have Saturnine tell Bessie Braddock, because I don't like you. When I look at you, you're somebody who's not actually a Captain Britain. You just can't pick up the medallion one day and say, "Oop, I'm Captain Britain now." No, it takes a whole lot more. And I feel like you don't have the ability to actually be a Captain Britain. And here's my next question for you. Your task, your job is to listen to me, but to also protect Britain as well. But here comes the problem though. you are a mutant. And in your world, in most worlds, mutants are hated on. What happens when you're hated so much that you let that hate blind you from actually doing your job? Now, you do have Psylocke say it's not going to happen, but for Saturnine, she's all like, I can't trust that because I've seen so many different realities and hate usually wins. Now, she does bring up what happened in Excalibur number 10, because remember, her brother Jamie Braddock is also the king of Avalon. But with his abilities to warp reality, what he did was he made 4 new realities. And in those 4 new realities, he made 4 new Captain Britons. Jubilee is one. Gambit is one. Rogue is one. Richter is one in each of those realities. And it seems like Jamie is trying to bring back the Captain Britain core. And of course, Saturnine, she does not like that idea of him doing that without her permission. But that is the moment you have Saturnine say her citadel is under attack. And if Betsy wants to prove herself, she has to protect this place right now. And that is the moment you have Saturnine and Betsy Braddock figure out why the alarms are going off. And the reason why, because of Gambit and Rogue. Because Gambit and Rogue stole something from Saturnine, and that something is the gem that Gambit is holding. The spirit or the soul of Kandra. Now, of course, you do have Betsy Braddock get contacted by Apocalypse, where Apocalypse tells her, hey, I need that gem to complete the gate, to complete my project, to finally do what I need to do for all of us. And of course, you do have Betsy say, listen, Gambit, you need to throw that gem through our gate right now and give that gem over to Apocalypse, because he needs that to complete whatever project that he's trying to complete. Now, at first, you have Gambit like, I don't like Apocalypse, but at the same time, he does not like Kandra either. And so he knows that if he hands that gem over to Apocalypse, that will get rid of one external that he hates. And then he can do the other one down the road. And so that is the moment we actually do see Gambit hand over the gem to Apocalypse by throwing that gem right into the gate that leads over to Richter and Apocalypse. And this is the moment we finally learn what Apocalypse has been trying to do this whole time, which was to actually build a gate that could lead from Krakoa over to Otherworld, right near the Citadel. That is what Apocalypse has been trying to do this whole time. And this is where the book ends. And on top of that, this is actually going to be one of the crucial moments in the X of Swords event when we actually jump into that crossover. So with that being said, I do hope you enjoy today's comic book video. And if you do, please leave me a like down below and subscribe. Also, if you have any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But guys, I'll see y'all next time. Later.